So we are going to demonstrate an AWS security breach in this Stealthwatch Cloud demonstration. The very first thing that we're going to do is show how an attacker can potentially retrieve credentials out of GitHub. All right, so when an attacker goes to GitHub, he can do a couple of different things. He can search for, S3, just things like that, because that's a very easy way to try and retrieve credentials and whatnot. If he knows a particular repository that he wants to try and dig into, he absolutely can. So what I'm going to do is actually show you a repository that I have set up to do some of my testing. And we're going to take a look at what we can find as if we were an attacker. So you can see here we've got two different files in this Stealthwatch repository. And the first is swc_support.py. Okay, cool. As an attacker, you think this is a Python script. So let's take a look at it. And it looks like it's a definite script. And you can see here it is Stealthwatch Cloud Center Support script authored by me. You can see it goes through and it basically does support functions. And it's gathering information that would help us in just ensuring that a customer's Stealthwatch Cloud Sensor is set up properly. So it's just a little side project of mine. But as an attacker, if I'm looking at this, I don't see anything significant, okay, that's going to really allow me to have fun. So let me back up a tad. The other miss. Oh, and then you see here, S3 storage location update. So this is pretty significant. So this could be significant. So I'm going to take a look at that and zoom in a tad here. And you can see S3 bucket for random file storage. This is, as an attacker, this is the holy grail. This is exactly what you're looking for. And this is something that's been used over and over and over again to exploit very well-known organizations. And so as an attacker, you've got this URL now, okay? And this URL is a URL to an Amazon storage bucket. So we are going to see what's in that bucket. So the next thing we're going to do is just go straight to it. Wide open perms bucket. Something good here, I'm sure. And you can see when you go to it, it's going to list all of the files here. It's going to just dump out the XML results here as a file listing of what's in that bucket. And you'll see that we've got Stealthwatch Cloud Quick Start Guide. There is a public cloud monitoring for Azure PDF. So just where, kind of a dumping ground for files. But then you see this, keys to the castle.txt. It couldn't get any more clear as to what that right there is. So it's something good is going to be in that file. So as an attacker, you've located something in GitHub, and now you've actually made your way to an organization's S3 bucket, and someone has decided to put this text file out here. And let's just see if we can read it. So we're going to append that URL with keys to the castle.txt, and looky here. DevOps folks don't always think or frankly care about security. So here's the login info to our AWS jump box, and you've got an IP, you've got a username, and you've got a password here. So at this point in time, you have found located possible credentials to a possible live system here. So as an attacker, the next thing that you're going to do is, or that I would do, you can try and log in directly if you want to using SSH or RDP, but just for the purposes of the prove out, I'm actually going to do a scan here. So 18.222.185.19, and I'm just going to do a scan of well-known ports, and we will let this run. And we should have in a few minutes here the results of the reconnaissance. All right, so you can see that the scan has completed. We've got one host alive with one open port. If I close this out, you can see that it actually resolves to an Amazon IP address as far as a reverse DNS lookup goes. It's alive, it's green, and look at that, port 3389. So it is actually listening on remote desktop 3389. And at this point in time, all right, so you can actually see that we've got the reverse DNS lookup name here, the Amazon endpoint itself. So it definitely is alive and breathing in Amazon. You can see we've got green here because it's up. And we've actually got we scanned a number of well-known ports looking for one to respond, and we got it to respond on 3389. So next step in this process is let's try and get into it. So if I actually RDP using these credentials, let's just open up Microsoft Remote Desktop here. You will see I've already got it saved here, contractor jump box, okay? And if I just go to edit it, you'll see that it's this IP address, the username, and the password. So let's go ahead and log into it. So at this point in time, we are going to go ahead and attempt to access that remote jump box. I'm going to accept the certificate, no problem. And look at this, it gets me right in. So this is perfect. As an attacker, I've now got full access into this jump box. You can see that I've logged in as administrator. If I click around, you can see it is a full-blown Windows operating system. So I guess the contractors must use it or whatnot. But the bottom line is I've now got access to it. You can poke around the file system if you want. You can see that they click on downloads, documents, etc. Don't really see anything super valuable there. You'll also see that you can see the internal IP address of this box right here. So what I'm going to do now is act like an attacker, and I'm going to try and do some recon and see what else I can find inside this environment. So the first thing I'm going to do is download and install a reconnaissance tool. I'm going to use the same one that I used earlier and leverage Angry IP Scanner. So what I'm going to do is go to Angry IP. That's fine. angryip.org. Going to go free download. Download it right here, and you will see it is this easy to just place this reconnaissance tool directly on the endpoint. Here it is right here. Open it up, run it, and install it. Now I've gone ahead and installed it, and I'm going to go ahead and execute it. You can see it right here. And what I've got it set to do here is, you can see the subnet this guy's on, 172.31.35. I'm going to scan the 35.0 subnet all the way to 40. And we're just going to see what we can find out there. And I'm going to tell it to use a couple of well-known ports for SSH, SMB or NetBIOS, and remote desktop. And we'll see what we can find. Go ahead and kick this off, and we'll see what it finds. All right, you can see now that the scan is completed. It has found 2 hosts alive in those several Class Cs that we just scanned. And one of those hosts right here is .37.39. And you can see that it is found to be listening indeed on 445 and 3389, which as an attacker, that's fantastic because I could try and remote desktop to that box if I wanted to. But because it's listening on 445, there's a possibility that I can just see if it's got any shares that I can access. So what I can do is just via a UNC path, type in that IP address and let's see what happens. And looky there, we've got user share as well as customer data, and as an attacker, it doesn't get any better than this. Let's see what this has got. Look at that, customer database backup. Looks like a 1.5 gig backup file. All right, so you definitely, as an attacker, want to try and see what's in here. And the first thing you want to do is just get it out, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to snag it and put it back over on the contractor jump box, okay? And this is going to simulate data hoarding. And remember, Stealthwatch Cloud is watching all of this occur. So this is simulating the lateral movement of data from the second exposed box or compromised box back onto the original jump box, because I want to get this out, I want to get it out on the internet, and I'll figure out what to do with it later. Hopefully it's got something good that I could resell on the dark web or something like that. All right, now at this point in time, I've got it over here. So make it really easy. The way I'm going to get this out is I'm just going to pipe it out over Dropbox. Okay, so this will be the data exfiltration. You can see I've already done it just in a test, but I'll do it again. I'm going to just drag and drop over here. and upload it to Dropbox. That's fine. Upload, and here you can see it uploading right here. It's going to progress as it continues to push out 1.5 gigs of data. Now at this point, once it uploads, as an attacker, I've got the asset or the crown jewels that I was looking for, and I can do what I want to with it. But from a Stealthwatch Cloud perspective, now you're going to want to pivot over into it and see how the threat actually plays out, and to show how we can alert on multiple phases of what I just showed you inside Stealthwatch Cloud. All right, so at this point in time, we're going to take a look at how the threat actually manifested and played out inside Stealthwatch Cloud. This is the Stealthwatch Cloud portal right here that actually lives inside AWS, so it actually is a cloud-native, cloud-based tool. And what we can do is you'll see that there is 5 active alerts, or there are 5 active alerts in Stealthwatch Cloud right now. And Stealthwatch Cloud is actively monitoring the AWS environment as well as an on-prem environment in my personal lab. That it's sending telemetry to every day, 24/7. So what we've got here are 5 different alerts, and you can actually see that if you look at the titles, you'll see that they are pretty indicative of the kill chain as a threat manifests or plays out. But you'll see that we've got one right here that triggered 2 hours ago, and this is an internal port scanner. And this is where I actually just went ahead and did a scan from my personal workstation to that external IP just to show you what we would have tracked and picked up and alerted on had the credentials not been given away via that GitHub leak. If this were exposed out on the internet, which this one is, you can see that these alerts are going to trigger, and if someone's doing reconnaissance against it or brute force login attempts, multiple login, failures, any of those different scenarios would be alerted here. But you can see here where I did a reconnaissance scan against it from my personal workstation out against that IP. You can see here, contractor jump box. It shows that we're bringing in those tags and all that good information from AWS, and you can see the well-known ports that I scanned against, and you can see that it subsequently triggered that alert. So very easy for Stealthwatch Cloud to alert on that particular event. All right, so if a user were coming in through that avenue, then they would be able to do brute force login attempts, and eventually if they did get access, then the threat could continue playing out. But as we know, we actually were able to get in via compromised credentials. And when we did that, the very first thing that we did was we did internal port scanning. And if you remember, we scanned that entire range of IP addresses, and we were looking for things that were open on SMB and on remote desktop. And when we did that, it triggered this internal port scanner alert. Okay, and after that, the next alert that triggered was the outbound traffic spike. Okay, and this is the spike of traffic out to Dropbox, if you recall. And you can see right here, Dropbox, and here's the Amazon instance itself, where we are actually showing that a suspiciously large amount of data going out to Dropbox. So the outbound traffic spike alarm triggered as a result of that. And the final alert would be the potential data exfiltration, which is, it's an interesting alert because it actually alerts on both lateral and vertical movement of data. And you can see that what happened was we took actually played it out a couple of times before this triggered, but we took 3 gigs of data off of the database server, or the customer data server that we were able to expose once we did the internal reconnaissance. We staged it on the actual jump box server itself, and then we pushed it out to Dropbox. So we've got a couple of different alerts that actually triggered on these different phases of the threat playing out. But this is what it would look like actually manifesting and showing up inside Stealthwatch Cloud.